Thank you for joining iMeet.
Yeah, high level.
The more realistic sci-fi.
This meeting is now being recorded.
All right. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's officially get started here. It's being recorded. We had 3 people that RSVP'd, local reps that were going to be here that ended up not being able to be here. There was someone passed away, someone is in the hospital with a hurt back and something else. So life is kind of happening already this year. But want to welcome our good friends from Mosaic Networx here. As you know, we have a lot of sources for SD-WAN, but there's no source like these guys because they're nimble, they're price competitive, they're the smartest people on the planet when it comes to SD-WAN. Very, very impressive, and they're in Larkspur as well. So we'll just go around and do some introductions here, but they are our carrier of the month for January, which means not just the Lunch and Learn, but we really want to focus on bringing them opportunities this month. Not just this month, but specifically this month. I'm going to put together with Eric's help, a questionnaire, a survey that we do. I'll do a survey to about 17,000 business email addresses. These are customers, these are people we've quoted, and then very large prospects that we think would be a good target for you. And so we'll just work on like 5 questions. I'll send it out on SurveyMonkey. Based on their replies, when they reply to this, we'll uncover real opportunity, right, the time's right with SD-WAN or their network's ready for it or whatever. Right. So we'll get to that too. But the main thing is I want to welcome you guys. Thank you for your support. This isn't just about, having them, sponsor January and bring us food and go through the dog and pony. We really want to support them in a heavy way. So welcome. Maybe just go, Eric, around, do introductions.
Yes.
We can just do the same thing, just flip it around.
Well, I guess, first of all, thanks for having us. Really appreciate it. We're honored to be here. Eric Rothrock. I'm the VP of Sales for Mosaic Networx. I've been with Mosaic now for just north of 8 years. So I'm kind of a lifer now as I get up in age. As Steve said, our core focus in 2018 and into the future is SD-WAN. So what we're going to talk about today is really centered around that subject matter. But thank you again for having us.
I'm Matt Hiles. I'll echo those thanks. I'm the COO for the company. I want to take what Steve said and kind of turn it on its head because he said he wants you guys to support us. And that's not what this is about. This is about us supporting you guys and helping you close deals. So, our number one job as a partner for TopSpeed is to help you guys close deals and bring in revenue and make money.
So we get what he was saying, so if we don't bring you those deals, we're with you.
I'm Peter Hirschkorn, I'm also in the sales organization. Here locally, been with Mosaic coming up on 10 years. So almost a privilege to come here. So I'm here and I help Eric and Matt support the sales efforts and kind of services, and we're here locally in Larkspur.
Brian Erickson, president of the company. Been with the company for going on our 11th year. We're excited every time we get an opportunity to come up here. It's just you guys are local, and relationship seeds. It continues to build, and there's a trust and the integrity that goes along with building a relationship because you can't trust anybody and everybody with the future. And so we want to, instead of somehow I feel we're on the opposite side of the table, but we want to be on the same side of the table. You guys, right? Even though just because we're sitting across from you. So, but we've been able to build a relationship starting with Glenn, and it's evolved, and we really appreciate everything we do. And we know we can't do it without you. That's critical. Last of SD-WAN, it's an evolution of technology, embedded technology that gives us network intelligence.
The agenda, if you will, for today, obviously we want to keep it, as flexible and open as possible. If you have questions along the way, fire away, right? That's what we're here for. I thought it might be helpful to kind of share our journey, how we got into this SD-WAN space, how it all started, take you through some statistics, some market intelligence, if you will, as to what the analysts are saying about SD-WAN, and also take you guys through, and Matt's going to help me with this, sort of a typical presentation that we would give to a customer. And usually it's the customer that maybe has heard about SD-WAN but doesn't have a lot of experience with it. And we typically will go through a PowerPoint presentation where we talk about the network elements and the feature functionality, and then jump right into a orchestrator demo, which is the software. And so I think that's what we'll do with you guys today. Like I said, at any point, ask any questions you have. We're happy to answer. And all of us here are Type A on this side of the table, so oftentimes we like to talk and jump in. So don't be surprised if those guys down there jump in at any point. So 8 years. We're telecom guys, right? We started. Brian mentioned it back MFS days, which was pre-WorldCom. You guys remember WorldCom? We became WorldCom, but we were all about telecom. So internet, private line, frame relay at the time, ATM circuits. We sold those. Then it evolved to MPLS. Well, we always were trying to figure out where that evolution was going to go next. And we'd heard about, at the time, software-defined networking. That term has changed to software-defined wide area networking, or SD-WAN. But we, back in 2014, started hearing about it. A little bit of chatter. Most IT guys had no idea what it was, but it was supposed to somehow come in and take over the MPLS space. And we thought, oh God, we got to figure out what this is and see if there's an opportunity for us. So we invested all of our resources, so our leadership team, our technical team, in understanding SD-WAN, SDN technology. And it was confusing as hell, right? Right out of the gate, we were completely lost. And what we were trying to do was figure out, okay, we think there is an opportunity here, but what we really need is an opportunity for us to take a product to our client base, to our target market, right? We didn't want services that were only for Coca-Cola, right, or Microsoft. We wanted them for the 2-3 location mom and pop emerging companies, B2B. That's what we were selling. We're selling B2B up through mid-market. So we searched. We talked to Glue Networks in Sacramento. We talked to a lot of different providers early on. I mean, this is 4 years ago, right? Some of our core objectives were to find companies that were willing to invest in us, right, and educate us, ongoing education, support us on sales calls, those kinds of things as we ramped up. I already talked about a potential for an industry-leading technology, somebody who we felt had an advantage over the others. Probably the most important thing, we wanted to partner with a company that didn't have a direct sales force, because we didn't want to open doors and have those customers walk through and go direct to the supplier. So in November of 2015, about a year into this process, we started talking to a company called VeloCloud. At that time, nobody really knew who they were. They were a 3-year-old company. People knew about SD-WAN, but they were just another one of them, right? They were just another supplier. 6 months later, after talking with them and realizing this is the company we want to be a part of, we want to partner with them and invest in them, we sold our first SD-WAN Edge in San Francisco to a pharmacy. Actually, Brian sold it. which is kind of pathetic since he's our CEO, right? But he was the first one to get his foot in and take advantage of the services. They're a customer still today as well. So is there anything you guys wanted to add to sort of the history before I go forward? Nope.
All right, a quick question, because I want to interact.
Yeah.
How comfortable do you guys know, how comfortable are you guys in the SD-WAN space right now? Is this all, I mean, I know, and here has knowledge, so I don't want to go, you guys way back into a place where we're being repetitive or redundant or anything. So
I have a general knowledge, but what I'm trying to do now is understand how different providers are using the device, because there's several providers that we work with that do provide a Velo Cloud, but how are you actually deploying it with the customers?
Right. Okay. So you have a general understanding of SD-WAN. You really want to understand our differentiator.
Right, and exactly what services do you provide? Do you provide bandwidth with your product? Do you now? At one time, you've gotten several folks. Yeah. So what does that look like now?
Yeah, I just want to make sure, because
But I don't know about anybody else.
Yeah, but also, I mean, this is being recorded, so we have newer reps. I mean, they all know what SD-WAN stands for, but there are different experiences as far as how large their book of business is, how involved they've been in network design. You know, we team sell probably 75-80% of our accounts. Usually we have a senior and another rep go out and share commissions on it. So I would say you don't have to get too elementary, but don't assume for the purposes of this meeting that, don't start at, a master's degree level and go up.
And just one thing, you talk about their network, they still can sell network. If somebody wants to have an SD-WAN box, a network, they want hosted voice services, they want all that, they can provide a turnkey products.
Right.
And they can do custom builds. We did Twitter, right, in San Francisco, the fiber? It was Airbnb. It'll be a big. We did all the fiber in San Francisco, connect sports and build.
That's good to know, because I have a lot of customers that have a lot of different providers, and it's much easier for them to go to one person than do the broadband down here.
I think what I like best about Mosaic is that they can be the primary and secondary provider. Customer gets one bill. Different technologies coming into the building, they can provide them both.
Cool. All right. So moving forward, oops, no, it's going to do that. There we go. So 3 years later, 3 years? 3 years later. SD-WAN worldwide market share, 2017. I found this information on, what's it called,
SDX Central.
SDX Central. IHS Markit is another analyst organization. Showed this graphic, which illustrates that the leader in the space right now is Velo Cloud, and really far and away leader, 31% market share worldwide.
I would have guessed it was double that. Seems like 80% of our providers have Velo Cloud, right?
Well, I've never
Yes.
even heard of the other two.
Wow. Versa is the other one
Well, not up there.
we run into.
I can't tell you. Couldn't tell you who else is up.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So this was, it's good information for us, right? We're riding the right horse, I guess, if you will, and we knew that, but we were also always curious to know how the competitive landscape looks. So I found it interesting. How do I advance without jumping too far ahead?
You could
No, it's not working.
use this.
There we go.
Use this and go forward or back here.
All right, let's do that.
Little mini keyboard there.
So, that's not working either. Up or down? All right, guys.
That didn't work.
No? All right.
Hmm?
Ran out the one down there?
All right, so, again, wanted to to let you know that VeloCloud is, obviously they're a leader in the market share. Tons of awards out there. Steve, you mentioned that they're selected by the majority of Tier 1 carriers. So Verizon, Telepacific, all of those providers are all offering VeloCloud as well. They are the #1 SD-WAN provider today. We are super excited to be working with them directly, which is now soon to become VMware, as you guys know. But with that being said, we just feel like we're, again, with the right solution provider. Here's some projections, and we've seen these from different analysts out there in the marketplace. And this is really, it's not about what's happened in the last 4 years, it's what's happening now. And this is what we want you guys, we want your takeaway to be, because it's our takeaway, which is now is the time to really go out and drive SD-WAN technology into the marketplace. As IDC says that the forecast between 2017 and 2021 is $8 billion. I mean, it's crazy, right? So there's significant opportunity out there for all of us. 69% compound annual growth. Gartner says that by 2020, 50% of all routers are going to be replaced by SD-WAN, which again I think is telling, right? Because the edge device does a lot of the feature functionality that a router does for customers, but it eliminates the CLI coding that they may be used to having to use. And then Forbes says that SD-WAN adoption will tilt towards an as-a-service solution versus an appliance model, right? So as-a-service, which is towards solution or managed service providers, that's what customers want. They want somebody that can take all the or the puzzle pieces and put them together and deliver a solution to them. And that's our core competency as well. So with that being said, what I'm going to do is hand it off to Matt, who's going to hopefully have a better ability to navigate that mouse than I did.
So before we get off the slide, are you going to go any deeper on this? I know.
You can.
High bank, you said it.
Yeah.
You can check your business card, yes, you can.
Apparently you are.
Apparently I am.
Be careful.
I just think these projections are interesting because I think you and I had these discussions around SD-WAN, and I mean, it's like, you see the concept there is like, this is going to change the world. Well, we know that if you've been in this business long enough, you've seen the shift, the evolution of frame, AGM to MPLS, and then all of a sudden now what's happening. And I think it's really important to understand, think about these projections. How do we all play a role? How do we get a piece of that, right? I want a piece of that. I know everyone in this room, I believe we're all sitting here for that reason, right? How do I get 50% of those enterprise routers? How do I become part of that 8.5 billion? And I think, when you think about where we're at in the positioning of what's happening, you got to look at the compression on what's happening with all the network out there, and it's becoming cheap. We just had this conversation about AT&T. Compression, how do you monetize that on a going forward basis? And what's happening in the space that allows us to take, be part of that? Broadband played a big role in the compression, all the pricing driving down across the board. How do we then increase revenues and margins across the board? And the device itself is inexpensive. It's the management of the device that adds margin. And when you add the ability to manage and on-net, I'm going to call on-net where we resell it, off-net, where we are buying and adding margin to it, combining it now, we then generate that incremental margin, what everyone participated in. But the biggest thing that I think that drives the growth in that billion-dollar mark is there's the market out there that's been very underserved, which is the guys that bought into Comcast's approach with, hey, buy my $69 broadband. They are failing all over the place until Comcast come back and said, oh, if you want that to work, you can spend $2,000 a month for fiber, right? Well, that market still doesn't want to go pay $2,000 a month. This allows enables that technology, that cheaper technology, with an incremental circuit to work as good or better, right? So I think market, that's a huge market all by itself. And then everyone coming off of and abandoning the high-cost MPLS, that's where that $8 billion is coming from. And, some people are reluctant, so-called hybrids coming off of the MPLS. And some people are more anxious to move quicker. And then you have that third market, which is all new. I just want to turning up a whole new service. So there's three different areas. The other part that I thought was interesting here was the Gartner approach of the routers. We believe in simplification, and this is a hard approach for people that are already embedded with network and routers and hardware that they've already had in place for years. But when you go into a telco closet and you look at all the switches and the routers and everything that's embedded in this ugly kind of mess in most cases, you can simplify that by taking a single device, putting it in there, tying it to your WAPs, everything's working all by itself with an embedded firewall. It really cleans things up, so simplification. That's where that router replacement, especially for new locations that are coming up, you don't have to think about those things. And that's that evolution that I think, is going to also increase that 8.5 or allow people to grow to 8.5 billion.
Glenn might know this, and you guys might know this. I don't know this. Where is Velo Cloud with taking the software from routing? Where are they in coming up with that workflow? Because that's really that simplification and getting to one device would be huge, where you can load either SD-WAN software onto your router or vice versa.
Well, Matt, do you want to take that, or do you?
So, VeloCloud had a roadmap and launched a security ecosystem from a PR perspective. It was never rolled out to the market as generally available. With the acquisition by VMware, that roadmap may change. So VMware is a software company. So we would expect to see a lot more virtualization in the VeloCloud product set as a result of this. But I don't know that anybody in our company has visibility to what's on that roadmap. But it was planned as part of VeloCloud's ongoing rollout.
So I think they're doing Fortinet on the security side.
Yeah, or firewall.
Yeah. But those guys came from the Versa kit.
So there is a firewall embedded in today.
Yeah.
We use it today. And for, small enterprise branch locations.
Do you work with MPLS then? Some providers don't. Yes, they will take an MPLS.
Yeah, we'll talk about augmented MPLS, what we call augmented MPLS, what VeloCloud calls hybrid architecture. So we'll talk a little bit about that today. So SD-WAN is the hot topic in IT infrastructure. So I think when you combine it with these macro projections that Eric talked about here, about growth, about VeloCloud being the industry leader, again, the hot topic in IT infrastructure right now, all of these elements really set the stage for folks like you to go out there and tell a great story. And we'll be right behind you to fill in the gaps. But in our opinion, IT decision makers are just looking for someone to tell them about SD-WAN. And they will likely buy from the first people that get in front of them and can tell them a good story. And that's what we're seeing in our own experience out in the marketplace, is that the IT decision makers want to know more about it. They're looking for someone to teach them. And if that partner can
educate them and manage deployment, simplify the environment, then they'll make a decision to go with. So I don't want to call it shooting fish in a barrel, but I do think that the person that's in first has the greatest opportunity to close the deal. If you're in second, there may be no spoils. So that's...
So, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
So, your direct team, you have direct salespeople, right?
It's a small team.
What percentage of your new business is coming in on the direct side versus the channel? And I'm not asking like that's a bad thing.
Yeah. So we've kind of shifted our focus to be more channel.
Yeah.
That's our focus, the channel.
Yeah.
We have direct customers that we have relationships with.
Yeah.
And have for years and years and
10 years of...
Yeah. But
you're not going to give us Airbnb.
99% of our new revenue comes from our partners.
Okay. So the reason why I asked that question, so your direct team or maybe some other channel partners, what are they doing well to identify and get in front of those customers to tell them the story?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are they just going through their book of business? I mean, we can identify our book of business who's on MPLS.
Yeah.
That might be a place to start. I'm just looking for ideas to bring it to the top, you know.
Lead gen is kind of the crux of it, isn't it? I mean, is it, new prospects? Is it existing customers?
Workshops maybe that you're doing, lunch and learns with customers?
All of the above are fair game. I mean, we're happy to roll out the team and do these kind of events for you. At a customer location, we've got marketing funds that we can use to co-sponsor events with a group of customers. If you guys want to, we can coordinate something like that and plan it out with Eric's help. So, yeah, I think, from just a blocking and tackling perspective, Steve, I think it's, your existing customer base is a great place to start. I mean, you don't want to cannibalize your own MPLS revenues at this point, but you don't have to either. But you want to protect
certainly not
protect the revenue.
Not with your product. But yet, I will say, aside from UCAS, SD-WAN is probably the most common conversation that not only I may be speaking for myself, but not only I have, but that is being had toward me.
Right, I think customers are aware now, and they are approaching us and asking us about it. They are getting educated about it.
I know we've done some things like in the video newsletter. We worked on a video for you quickly with that Hello Cloud and labeled it with you on the front and back. And we've sent out white papers and stuff on that. But I think we could do a better job of being a source of information for that list. We've got the 17,000 names of prospects, clients, people we've quoted, stuff like that. So it's it's a pretty cooked list. So we if there's ways we can look for content, drive content to them, be the source of information to them, that'd be helpful too.
We have a number of white papers, use cases, variety of blogs that we can repurpose, and we're happy to share 100% of those with you, Steve.
We can also do webinars.
Webinars.
Talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
Are you seeing different verticals adopting this technology faster than others? Or still kind of just more of a generic thing?
Retail's hot. And the reason why is that retail locations typically have no IT personnel on staff. And so the simplicity of deployment and the control and the visibility is a big deal for companies, and it's a cost-effective technology. Prior to SD-WAN, multi-location retail had to have an MPLS network, which doesn't really fit into the economics of retail, right? It's an expensive transport technology, and retail is a razor-thin margin business, but there were no other options, and now there are.
Boxes can do a lot. I mean, a lot of these boxes already have Wi-Fi built into them. So for a small retail store, they can turn on Wi-Fi. Yes, Networx have, waiters and waitresses with iPads taking orders, all built into one single appliance. They can be connected with
Comcast and the DSL. Now they have backup, or Comcast and LTE. Give them some kind of backup, because these places can't be down anymore because they rely so much on internally taking orders electronically, but more importantly, the point of sale stuff.
So you might hear in the field, you know, I have my Rockies out there, and I have my WAPs already deployed, et cetera. That's probably what you're going to hear a lot of, right? They did a great job of getting that product out there. Well, these are compatible with the WAPs, okay, so that's important to know, right?
They would be an adjunct to the WAP?
Yeah, so you don't need the Meraki firewall and/or we just replaced, and you can talk to Bell about it. They replaced the Meraki. You don't have to replace the WAPs though. Okay? So you can get access, big access points. The access points, okay? But, you know, for simplification, you don't need all devices. You can though. You can put it in front of it, you can put it in back of it, you can do whatever the customer's comfortable with.
Well, I do have a customer that has Meraki now, and that's one of the things that I want to understand about how your product, how the Bellow platform works really with something.
You're doing it right now.
What's different about the Meraki? What do you do, or what does the Bellow Cloud do that the Meraki does?
Cynthia wrote more new business last year than any other rep, by the way. Just want to let.
Well, I just want to.
Congratulations.
I'll put it out there because I think we need to emphasize this over more and more and more. The reason why we win these deals where you hear the difference between, you know, the SD-WAN device. There's all kinds of providers out there. There's guys that are out there selling the boxes, talking boxes all day, or the edges all day. Right? That's what they're doing. And they're saying, hey, you can go out and manage this device on your own. You're on your own. And so my two guys say, sure, fantastic, I'll take that on, I'll do it, I'm technical enough. And then there's others out there that want to manage services associated with it, and say, I'll manage this box, and I'll manage your apps, et cetera, and I'm going to charge you a management fee. I think the differentiator for us is started in the circuit business, never went beyond the firewall. Now we are the firewall in some cases, and we are the router, and because this edge acts the LAN and the WAN capacity, we have, you know, connectivity that we now manage, which is a differentiator. So, you know, we deal with our competition. We understand what they're doing, and, you know, some are successful in just deploying boxes, but they don't want to touch them. You still want to send those tickets to you or to the end user and say, hey, manage this. Hey, you're down. Can you go deal with this guy? So your customers with the Meraki that have an issue are managing, you know, three different, I don't know how many, let's say they're managing 2 NOCs, 3 NOCs, I mean, 3, they're calling different NOCs, right, to manage circuits. And what we do is we give them 1 NOC. And it could be 35 different providers, and they're still calling. The guys up in Sacramento, which, Motherlode, they have all kinds of NOCs we call all the time, right? It's a single NOC approach for them. That's how, you know, we manage it, even though it's all broadband in this scenario. Same thing goes with the devices.
So they just sign off and say you have access to that?
Yeah, they can either sign off, so if they could have bought it themselves and sign off, better to have them buy the circuit, put the circuit in, put the SD-WAN bucket in, and then manage everything.
Your customers are Meraki, are they typically doing a LAN environment, or are they connecting all these locations on the LAN?
Well, I'm thinking of, that has the Meraki right now, and they only have a couple, yeah.
Typically what you see more, so the Bellow Cloud starts to use much more LAN infrastructure, or Merakis are typically, you know, within an office space.
Well, yeah.
Technically can tie them together, but you don't see it.
The other thing is, this guy she's talking about at least isn't one of those guys with Meraki saying, well, I have SD-WAN.
Right. Yeah.
He's got firewalls, and he knows that, and he's got wireless access points. So that, I mean, that's, to me, that's the hardest thing to sell against, just some do-it-yourselfer who goes, no, I've got SD-WAN.
Got everything, yeah.
No, because if you have a sonic wall, you don't either. And that's what, you know, yes, you have 2 circuits into it, and you could fail over.
Or you're not
Load
really using
balance,
both.
and
You're
the rate
barely
tracks.
not using
It's not SD-WAN.
So that's what I'm trying to get a better understanding.
So I just sent you a document that I sourced from a former Meraki rep who works at Bellow Cloud now, so it's in your inbox.
Great, okay, thank you.
Sure.
It's not, I mean, it's not like, it's the revelation, oh my God, I got all this good stuff. You know, it's fair. It's a fair assessment, I think, so.
Sorry, okay.
I don't know how many of us here have, I think a bunch of us have sold SD-WAN. We've sold like 20 SD-WAN applications as a company so far. Most of it's Big Leaf, because they were here first.
Yep.
For us, but some is you.
To my point, right?
To your point,
First in,
first in, that's right.
right?
So, we have some familiarity, and you still have that new car.
I'm teaching this class next week.
But, I mean, you know, the value of it.
Well, I think the biggest thing is Meraki really does a really, really good job on the land side, like I said. You get a lot of statistics on the land side. It really matches nicely with the Meraki access points. They meld together really good. You can control a lot of them. It really doesn't do, I mean, yes, you can do VPNs, VPN offices. Yes, you can put dual circuits in, but it doesn't do it to the extent of the cloud.
Absolutely.
And that's really what the difference. So that's where some people will say, I'll go ahead and get a managed service for the WAN side, which is the Bella Cloud. I'll get Comcast, I'll get LTE, I'll get whatever I want, and I'll still have a Meraki behind it because I like the way it manages the LAN side. The Bella Cloud does almost as good a job on the LAN side as far as identifying users, abusers, et cetera. I think the Meraki personally does a little bit of a job.
So looking at customers now that are going from Cisco environment and they're using Cisco Voice, but they're migrating to hosted, that's kind of been where I've been able to introduce this more because they're putting their voice and data on the same network and looking for the reliability and stability. So this same customer that has Meraki has a really very small WAN and is primarily doing LAN business, but now going to move their traffic to a hosted environment. Then how does the Bella Cloud? I mean, that's where I'm kind of inserting it for reliability and
This is
cleaning
where
up
the Bella
the
Cloud, because you need the reliability on the WAN side. You need the reliability for multiple connections, not to be able to drop VoIP calls, not to be dropping your Office 365 connections. This is where things like the true SD-WAN products like a Bella Cloud far exceed what Meraki is.
Relay sensitive traffic.
It cleans up circuits that appear to be bad. It clears them up. Makes them appear good. I mean, Mark, we call it Mark and say, you guys get into Mark. They gave us Mark and Meraki, Bella Cloud to put on his. Got DSL and Comcast, and you asked Mark or Deborah, you remember them on the conference calls, they couldn't use their phone, it was always dropping. I haven't heard one complaint in Mark and
Yeah, we will.
Are they on?
I don't know if they're on.
Are you on, Mark?
We haven't heard one complaint from them. When you dial into their box, you see those circuits varying back and forth, which one's having a bad day. And but as far as from the user experience, because the Bella Cloud box is balancing the DSL and the Comcast, they never drop the call. They're both using their VoIP phones now. Never used to be able to use them both at the same time if they used one. It definitely works, and it definitely works on crappy circuits. And they're at the end of the loop for DSL as far as concerned. And then I don't know how Mark did it. Somehow he's got a wireless connection from his basement to his third floor, and he's got his phone plugged in over this wireless connection within his house down to the Bella Cloud box, which I don't know why it's working.
Hey, so does Big Leaf doesn't do any managed services, right? They just lease you out the box every month.
Big Leaf just does the boxes. They do not do complete management of those circuits. So there's advantages to Big Leaf and disadvantages to these boxes. We sold a fairly nice Big Leaf, one of our customers, and they love it. Because of his type of applications, you want it outside IP addresses and stuff.
They have big fiber circuits. They're not dealing with them.
And you keep the IP address with Big Leaf, right? They never change, regardless.
There is your outside
Bella Cloud does have enterprise-grade boxes.
that, fellow code was down.
No, I get it, but you see it there.
But what about doing single sites? How do you guys feel about that?
Do it today.
Not
I just did a POC with Mark, Mattson. I don't know if he's on the call or not. We just got the, contract signed yesterday. A single location. You guys have heard of the Clapper?
Yeah.
And Chia Pets,
Yeah.
right? One company, Joseph Enterprises in San Francisco. And his problem is, and this is not uncommon, he has an Exo Flex circuit, so he's got the dynamic voice, whatever they call it, right? Where it's voice and data on one circuit, and there's pain points on that because of SMRs, scheduled maintenance requests, and just fiber cuts, or outages on the network. It affects both. So we talked about diversity, and we talked about SD-WAN, and anyway, he's going to test an SD-WAN edge now for 30 days. So one location, absolutely. We're looking for more. We have some really great wins. How big are some of the 30, 40 location sites? We have existing customers that are looking at 50, 60 location sites, but there are more, obviously, out there than that. So,
How many sites for Motherload finally?
Motherload? Oh yeah, you got a lot of circuits out there. You got a lot in the back order too. They seem to order 2 or 3 a month.
Okay, so they have. Yeah, they do. Yeah. There, I went through them. Ryan really helped me with them, one of my first ones, and I thought they were up to 60 or 70, so you're saying they're higher than that now.
A lot of circuits, a lot of locations. They've grown into Arizona and a few other states recently through acquisition, and I think that's pushed up the requirements. So I'll send you a new.
So what's a simple configuration? Primary, secondary, like a?
For SD-WAN?
Yeah, or for like the Motherload. So each branch has. Do they have like?
So they have TPAC MPLS, and they wanted diversity from that. And they also run their voice, SIP phone voice over their Pacific MPLS network. And we were struggling early on with getting an SD-WAN edge to work within that environment with TPAC. We can solve for it today. Sorry, Glenn. Back then we couldn't. So they elected to not go with us for SD-WAN and just go with us for a whole bunch of different Comcast, Time Warner Cable, Volcano, all these different, right, broadband, yeah. They're like, Eric, what can you do in Auburn, Volcano? So that's what we ended up getting. But it's going to create opportunity. They're up to about $8 or $9 grand in MRR, so.
Great.
Yeah.
A lot of broadband.
A lot of broadband, yeah.
$70 a piece.
I think it's that Jason's happy. He seems very happy, so.
But it opens the door back for us to get back into the accounting. Pacific has really held on well to that account. They started with one. And really did a good job on it. It did a lot of fear and uncertainty when we out there with the SD. And that's why I think they are loyal.
You did mention something earlier, just I wanted to capture, is you're saying a lot of the reason the conversation is starting because we're moving into hosted VoIP environments now. So remember, your Velo Cloud is, we were talking about MPLS replacement, all that, all the site-to-site, multi-site, but it's also cloud enablement. That's really what hosted VoIP is now. So when you have those conversations, if you're talking to Eric, not only are you talking about the box, the circuits, and also obviously the hosted VoIP, which is what you're doing from Motherload, right? So perfect segue and differentiator between us and Bagley.
Simplifying the customer's environment. Right. That multi-vendor confusion is what a lot of IT departments are trying to move away from. They're literally moving up the stack, if you will, away from, the mundane tasks of managing a network towards the things that are driving revenue and growth and profitability within the enterprise. And so there's nothing glamorous about a lot of the things that we do, including the circuit management part of it, but it's a necessity in those departments, and they don't want to do that work.
Call centers? Third-party
When you say do call centers,
do you provide a call center adjunct to the hosted voice?
We have, and Eric, you can speak to that, you're more familiar with the product. I think we have a limited offering for that.
Yeah, so we have what's called Call Center Lite right now on our platform.
Does that mean it doesn't work very well, or?
Really light.
So you juggle it.
Less billing too.
So it doesn't have a lot of the functionality that advanced call center environments are looking for, and we know that. And it's priced accordingly because some of them are very, very expensive call center applications. In Q1, sometime in Q1, engineers, hopefully Brian will, and you can push the buttons, we'll come out with our actual Call Center Pro platform, which I think will have all the bells and whistles that you're going to find with 8x8 or anybody else.
Well, I do have a couple customers that have very simple call center requirements.
Okay.
So it might, you know.
And I can show you.
Yeah, it's just very
Yeah.
simple,
Yeah.
a little bit of tracking, a little bit of monitoring, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it does that.
Who's your platform?
Brian.
Your UCAS platform?
We have, 2,600.
An open source
Started
platform.
working with those guys years ago. They developed a platform for us. And we manage that. That's small, little big. We can always do a follow-up for you, do a demo with a, orchestrator, what it looks like for our hosted with account.
Steve, how much time do we have?
How much?
Never get the demo of the.
1:30.
Yes,
Just a 1:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Questions are good.
Okay. No more train.
So there's a couple of foundational things I want to share with you. And one of them is really what's precipitated the need for SD-WAN. So with the advent of the cloud and software as a service and infrastructure as a service, there was a complete change in the traffic profiles across the network, across the wide area. And there was a shift from traffic that originated from the branch to the data center or to the headquarters, where they would host an ERP or some other proprietary applications, to branch to cloud. And in those environments, companies or users are accessing productivity apps like Office 365, infrastructure apps like Azure or AWS. So all of these cloud-based applications that we all know companies are moving to, of what's really driven that change in the traffic profile. So that's a fundamental thing that I think everyone wants to be clear on, is that, well, why SD-WAN? Well, the reason why is because there's been a fundamental change in the traffic across the network, and that's been driven by the cloud. So for your customers who have these high-zoot, expensive, complex MPLS networks, they do nothing to facilitate that communication from the end user in the branch to those applications that are hosted in the cloud. Because an MPLS network is private, and these cloud applications are by definition public. So those two don't connect. So that's really sort of the paradigm, the change that's happened on the wide area that's precipitated or necessitates SD-WAN. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes good sense.
So that's the sort of the summary of this screen. What we're looking at here, this illustration, is SD-WAN is sort of a transformative technology. And so we can take any type of transport technology, including MPLS, private network, or any public flavor of network, whether it's fiber-based internet or broadband or DSL or even fixed wireless or even mobility wireless in the form of a 4G LTE. You can take any of those transport types and aggregate them into a single active overlay. So that's important because we talk to companies all the time, and I'm sure you talk to similar companies who have, at best case, they have an active standby environment. So they've deemed business continuity to be important. So they have a second circuit, and For some of them, it literally requires an IT administrator to go over there in the event of a failure and unplug that primary and plug in that idle capacity that's been sitting there, and then the network comes back up. That's the worst case. In the SD-WAN environment, those two circuits are operating in an active environment. So there's no more idle capacity. We're not paying for insurance that you're not using. And the customer's getting utility out of that bandwidth. Those are running applications over it all the time. And we're aggregating it. So I'll give you an example, some quick math here. The company had a 50 meg active and a 50 meg standby. So they've got basically 50 meg waiting for it to fail so they can use the other 50 meg. In an SD-WAN world, now they have the equivalent of 100 megabits. So now they have increased capacity and increased performance.
And yet they still have the diversity they need.
Using a diverse carrier, whenever possible.
I mean, a voice call can literally run both networks simultaneously.
Or you can do QoS and then send it on whichever
That's right.
circuit they want.
Does VeloCloud has 4 ports, is that right?
Depends on the device.
Yeah.
Does Telepacific still only allow 2 of those 4?
I don't know, based on what they said. They used to only allow 2.
Yeah, I think they'll allow more, but I think some of the
Yeah,
club boxes have up to.
Some requests for it.
So
Yeah. Right.
The bigger one you
So the net effect of this is now you can create an enterprise-grade WAN using commodity-priced internet. And again, you don't have to remove and replace an existing MPLS network. You can actually secure that revenue if you have a customer with MPLS by providing the SD-WAN in a hybrid environment. So MPLS plus internet equals augmented MPLS.
We can go back to a lot of our customers that have MPLS and they have a T1 MPLS and they're all running out of bandwidth.
Right.
They're moving to the cloud. The traditional MPLS was 1 megabit. Everything goes back to headquarters and then out to the internet. Well,
Right.
now as they start going to Office 365, that 1 meg can't handle anymore. They may still be in contract or they still may be uncomfortable. You could easily go and put an SD-WAN box, plug the MPLS into it, plug a Comcast broadband or a, $800, 100 meg from ACC, whatever you want. Plug it into that box and then really augment their traffic without disturbing their contract and or their confidence.
Well, that is the best, two of the best parts of that conversation to have with the client are you're utilizing all your bandwidth. It can delay your requirement to upgrade bandwidth too, because you were only using 50, you had 100, now you've got 100.
What was the term you used when you said the traffic patterns are changing? What was the term? I forgot what you called it. That the access to the internet is being used for a different thing, like hosted and the.
What did I say?
It was great.
When you're talking about the cloud.
Use of the cloud requires. Well, traditionally, everything was down to the PC or worst case scenario, the server on-prem. So
It was a great term. I want to write it down.
Outlook on our desktop. We grew up with
It'll come
Word
back
on our
yeah.
desktop. Now Word and Excel and everything in the cloud.
Right. So
The applications
I understand what's happening. You were explaining why the shift, why, because we're doing this, and now, the new uses. Yeah, but there was a term you used that I want to copy it.
Recorded, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't have to write anything down.
But it was a shift to the cloud.
To the cloud.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? If you provide 4G to the client, is it usage-based or do you have a flat rate?
Well, we have a couple of different models, so we'd be happy to have a follow-up call with you and get down to what client requirements are, but we can configure that to operate as a failover, or we can operate it as a full-time.
And satellite too, right? Does satellite work on VeloCloud?
Well, latency's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Now, fixed wireless,
Line of sight.
Yeah. Joe.
that's supportable.
Yeah.
So,
You partner with a fixed wireless?
your question, 4G for business isn't all you can eat
All over
yet.
the country.
So what we recommend with a customer, let's say they have an IP connection and they can only get one carrier and the only other option is 4G. We can offer them both circuits, but just let the 4G sit there and almost idle, or an active stage but idle. So if this circuit fails, the 4G will kick in. Because you don't want that running for,
Right.
you know the drill.
So I had heard of a flat rate product.
I keep hearing about it too.
With 5G.
I'd like to see it, because there's opportunities out there, but I haven't found it, so.
Maybe you can find a 4G, I don't know of any true flat rate.
No.
You can find one, you can plug it in the back of the
We
box.
can offer it, on a limited basis. So for 90 days, in the event of a customer's doing a new fiber build, we can offer it unlimited 4G LTE, but only for 90 days. After that, it has to go to usage base.
It goes into the last usage that they were billing. Right, they get 30 megs for 90 days.
I'm not sure on that. All right, so this illustration here depicts something I was referring to a little earlier. I want to highlight the 3 elements of SD-WAN. We'll keep it simple. There's only 3. There will be a quiz at the end. The first one is this edge device. Got to find where my cursor is here. So this edge device, it's a network appliance. Okay, it's about as big as a cable modem, and that's deployed at the edge, which is why they call it the edge device, right? It really is it's a software delivery mechanism, right? It's an x86 box. We forget what SD stands for. It's software defined, and so we have to get that software out at the customer prem. So this edge is what houses that. The next element is these cloud gateways, and so you can see them around the perimeter here of this cloud, and these are deployed at the backbone of the internet, sort of at the head end of the internet, in places like Equinix or Terramark, AWS, really on the doorstep of where these cloud applications are residing.
These are more, of the Velo Cloud infrastructure.
Yeah, this is Velo Cloud infrastructure. Yeah, they operate it, support it.
And that's an important part that we should probably pause for a moment. Pacific, they're not deploying traffic over these Velo Cloud gateways. They have their own hubs.
And their own NOCs.
And their own POPs, right?
Yeah.
Wherever those are. So through Mosaic, we leverage the Velo Cloud hubs or POPs, and they're in the UK, Asia Pacific. They just popped Sydney. All over the U.S. There's 301, I think, today, right now, 301. It's much more than just California.
Every continent except for Antarctica and Africa.
So are there providers like yourself that have partnered with Velo Cloud, like you guys are?
Service providers.
Service providers that have partnered with Velo Cloud as the software, the hardware, whatever, that are not using Velo Cloud's POPs? They're using their own only?
The carriers are not.
Okay, the carriers are not. So CenturyLink on Versa, I think? Versa.
Velo Pacific is Velo Cloud. Velo Cloud.
Okay, well,
They're using their own, but they're a network provider. They have a network. They have these connections to the POP, and these guys are using other people's.
Yeah.
Right.
So in Sacramento, we talked about this with last title. The L Street address, I think it's L Street, is where the Sacramento Velo Cloud TPX hub is. Well, that's not the Velo Cloud hub. That's Pacific. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, what's better?
Well, think about the design for a second.
Yes.
So this is purposely designed you see those boxes there at Salesforce offices?
Yeah, if you need close.
Those gateways are set up in any of the Equinixes or wherever they are, next to the rack, which all these SaaS services sit today. The carriers that built the network previously didn't always go into an expensive Equinix to build out their POPs. They had their own carrier POPs. Now they've adapted the gateways in their network, but they're not always sitting alongside SaaS applications. And so they just, they have 300 locations that are ensuring these SaaS applications work.
Right.
So that's designed after it was the design of the gateway was to ensure that the SaaS applications work versus the other way around where the network was more.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
So someone said
asked, what are the differences? Because you have partners today that deploy VeloCloud like Telepacific or TPX. So I think this is one of those differentiators right there, and that is, the utilization of cloud gateways. And application assurance is one of VeloCloud's cornerstones, so application assurance. And what that means is that when we have these users, your customers' employees, that are working in an office space somewhere, and they're accessing these productivity apps, Office 365 or Salesforce, there's thousands of productivity apps that companies use, right? Those would just normally go out over the public internet, take whatever circuitous path to get to that app. So the edge at this location now creates this dynamic tunnel across the public internet and communicates with the cloud gateway that's closest to these applications. And that dynamic tunnel is what gives those customers that application assurance, that improved performance of those applications. And so again, this is one of the cornerstones of VeloCloud's technologies. This is different than the way the carriers deploy it, because the carriers don't use the cloud gateways. They use their own deployed gateways. So I just want to make sure that was the question, how is it different? And so application assurance is one of those differentiators. Any other questions about this? The third element here, because there was going to be a quiz, is the orchestrator. That's the single pane of glass. We'll look at that in a few minutes. One of the screens we're going to see in the orchestrator is this one right here. And what we're looking at here is a location where they have a single broadband circuit, and the edge is continuously monitoring that circuit. And it's monitoring on a packet-by-packet basis. Literally every 100 milliseconds, it's measuring latency, jitter, and packet loss. And it can remediate those three performance impairments on the network. So if we look at this Comcast now, and it scores it based on performance. In this case, look up here, it says it's past 12 hours. So we're looking at this link for the past 12 hours, and based on its performance, they scored it on a 1 to 10, and this was an 8.6. If we look at this particular time right here, we can see that there was a critical packet loss. And the edge device automatically, without human intervention, so your IT guy doesn't need to do anything, it automatically enables the forward error correction, and it mitigates that packet loss. So now what we have up here is a mitigated circuit, which has vastly improved performance over the original circuit, right? And that circuit will now support real-time applications like voice or video.
Is this an orchestrator screenshot?
Yeah.
Thing?
Yep.
Is this a VeloCloud orchestrator, or do you have your own?
We have our own. It's VeloCloud. We have our own. It's a multi-tenant cloud-based orchestrator. So Mosaic has its own instance.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Glenn, I was going to ask, remember when we went to Kansas City and we saw Sprint's SD-WAN, and they did a demo and they unplugged the box, the edge device and all that. They showed us this. Are they on VeloCloud too?
They're VeloCloud.
But they're not. Are they using all of VeloCloud like they are for the POPs?
No, they went with the VeloCloud gateways in their network. And the reason they did that was because they're trying to migrate a lot of their MPLS people and their Sprint people, SIP people to the VeloCloud.
That makes sense.
And it's more difficult to have SIP running through your MPLS cloud to go through a gateway, in my opinion. It's easier to bring the gateway in and have everything on your network, and have your SIP fail over easier to the IP. It's a design. I mean, they did it for specific design. Had they not had
advantages to both of them. And, you know, this advantage definitely leads itself to the SaaS solutions going to the cloud because you're jumping off an Equinix or Telemark or whatever, and you're basically one hop away from Amazon or Microsoft.
Exactly.
People like Pacific and Sprint, they're going to have to build direct connects from their gateway location over to Amazon to whatever. So they're going to have to go through the backbone expense of building these gateways in order to give you the same appearance.
But they would do that though, right? I mean,
Yeah, they're doing that. They're going to do it. Yes.
Okay.
They're going to do it. They're going to charge it as a service that we have a direct connect and we'll let you jump off. So they'll charge for it. Where when you go on this.
so any application management critical company that's using that thing, this is
I could argue both sides of the fence, quite frankly.
really,
I think there's, again, it really comes down to what is the customer doing the most of and how much is he willing to pay. I mean, there are some things to be said about direct connects versus a public gateway like we're using here. If you're willing to pay for a direct connect out of Sprint or Pacific's gateway, you're going to get better performance, but it's going to cost you a lot.
Yeah.
I think somebody got eaten by the dog.
That's been funny.
Yeah.
All right, this next slide depicts another one of VeloCloud's cornerstones. Again, this is another differentiator between the way Mosaic deploys VeloCloud and the way...
What's that?
This is Mark the Denver Circuit.
Yeah, feeling bad.
DSL's on the top and the console.
So, VeloCloud calls this dynamic multipath optimization, DMPO for short. And from the name, you would imply that it's based on a multipath or multi-circuit solution. And what we see here is we've got a Verizon Fios. This is our operations and engineering office in LA. So at that office, we have a Fios circuit and we have a Pacific circuit. So again, vendor diversity is important. Vendor management is not important, at least for the IT guys, right? So this is one of the things that we do, but we've got diverse circuits here. We can see both of these have a fair amount of impairment. This was the day after the election. A lot of people were looking at, the internet to see what the news was, and so both of these circuits were under pressure.
That really happened?
And so at this particular time, when we look here, we can see both of these circuits had critical impairments on them. We can only see what the TPAC circuit was because it's a screenshot, it's static, but you can see that there was a jitter condition, and automatically the edge device enabled the jitter buffering, and it resolved that. And at the same time, there was also a critical packet loss condition on that circuit. And again, enabled the 4-error correction and mitigated that condition. So there were two simultaneous conditions on that circuit at that time. And then the Fios circuit also had a critical situation. We don't know what it is because we can't see it right here. But both of those circuits, critical impairment at the same time, and the dynamic multipath optimization remediated both of those, and now we've got, an enterprise-grade WAN that'll support real-time applications.
Well, what is that Pacific circuit, do you know?
It's a 10 meg, 10 meg up and down, and a
EOC copper? It just was so bad.
I'll try to sell them another one. I'll put it in your sales funnel.
This is our office.
I know. You're not doing very well.
Well, look at the green line on top.
The VeloCloud is doing well.
Here's the application screen.
Yeah.
That was really on it, jamming the traffic up.
So, any questions about the multipath optimization? The one thing that can happen here that can't happen with a single link is that it's called link steering. So one of the functions of the VeloCloud Edge is that it will link steer. So it will automatically steer from one link to the other. So it's not available with a single link because there's no place to go. But right, when you got 2 lanes, then we can steer around it, and then we can also remediate with the packet loss and the jitter.
Well, is that one of the things with the Meraki box? The Meraki won't do that?
It won't do a lot of things that VeloCloud will do.
Forward error correction. It will do a little bit of this, but none of the forward error correction.
Okay, yeah, I knew there were some differences, yeah, okay.
Well, and it has to talk to a cloud gateway in order to do this. So it can't just do, it
Not
has
gonna
to
do
be.
it by itself.
Right, exactly. Steve.
Good. No, you go.
All right.
I'll go. I'm gonna go. Going. You mentioned
Can I go?
during this slide, you said, and here's another differentiator. Were you talking about differentiator compared to the TPXs or just in general? I was typing something else, I didn't catch that.
So the differentiator here is that Telepacific's in the business of selling their service. So they're not going to go out and pull down a Verizon circuit and put it into their network. They're also not going to let you see this. You know why they're not going to let you see this? They don't want, because what are you going to do? You're going to call them up and say, hey, you're going to open a ticket and say, my circuit's impaired. Then you got credits, you got, disputes, you got support issues. So they don't want you to see this. So that's a differentiator too, is visibility.
Perfect.
But having that diverse carrier circuit is another differentiator.
I have a dumb question. I just ask it because I don't know. But the traffic type video, if that was different, if it was voice, does it matter? You're still doing the same kind of work with the VeloCloud, right?
So the VeloCloud logic is more sensitive to video traffic than it is voice traffic. So what this really does, it highlights more of the impairment.
Oh, I see. Okay.
If I was to click on that, we'll see it. Voice is one of those options, and there might have been, 75% of the impairment we're showing here.
Okay.
But for illustrative purposes, it's good to see,
Right.
all the yellow and the red, and how it remediates it. So I won't spend any time here because these are more screenshots. This is a great one here. So this is a customer of ours today, and they did an internet deployment, an SD-WAN deployment with us. They called me up and they said, Matt, this SD-WAN thing seems to be slowing down our network. So I'm like, well, let's take a look, right? Because I didn't know. So we pull this up, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, and I see, okay, so good that we've got Office 365, but after that it's downhill. We got Instagram, iTunes, Pinterest, Apple Music, Snapchat, Spotify.
So it's a young workforce.
Well, yeah, what do you think that do?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
So I said, hey, Kevin, it's not really my place to say, but you've got a lot of traffic on your network that, maybe you don't want there, which through business policy and the orchestrator and you can control, right? But, so he hadn't done that yet. So anyway.
So are you saying the client can go into the orchestrator?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's your segment of the orchestrator?
Yeah.
Okay.
The client will have visibility. Now, it depends on how we set them up. Some clients don't want it, and we don't want them to have it either. If we're providing a platinum level managed service, we don't want them going in and tinkering with it when we're the ones responsible for it. So change management's an issue and things like that.
So why would he call? Why would this client call and say, since you put this on, it's worse?
I was just thinking that.
How does it get? It's not
I don't know.
worse.
All of a sudden,
Well,
maybe
we put in a new circuit. We put in a new circuit, so there was several new elements in his infrastructure, and so
you were the last guy in the closet, so it's your fault.
Well,
Right.
it also could be when you've got something shiny new, your expectations.
You notice it more.
Increase, and maybe you think, you were more tolerant of having,
Your expectations
jitter
are higher.
or extra traffic and having, slowness or whatever.
all
Now,
the above.
I've got 2 circuits. I
Now
have
we
SD-WAN.
can listen
I
to
should be
music.
really,
Yeah.
now I can do all this. Bandwidth is a factor.
Start Snapchatting them.
Yeah. This is going to be the last slide I want to show you guys before we look at the orchestrator. This is back to,
tricky, isn't it?
It is, it's very sensitive.
I could go get some batteries.
This is where IT departments are really moving up market to generate, revenue, growth, and profits within an organization versus the mundane sort of circuit management stuff. This is, 10 years ago when we hung the, open sign on the Mosaic door, this is what we started doing. So there's nothing better that we know how to do than this part right here, which is global carrier management. And this is a big deal. Again, mundane, there's no glory in this, but we do it exceptionally well. So for customers who have multiple locations or multiple vendors, simplifying that vendor management is a big deal for them.
That's what separates us. I mean, if there's anything to walk away from why Mosaic versus other organizations out there, really it comes down to right here, something where we were good at bringing in the carriers on a different basis for the process, right? So we don't, we always help in the selection process as to which carrier made the most sense based on route diversity and just the overall perception of what they needed, what they needed, right? So we always, that selection was always part of the process and the design and the dark fiber, et cetera. But then when you layered on the VeloCloud, you talk to some of these companies out there, they do VeloCloud, but they really don't want to touch any circuit. They're very much foreign to that. They don't know it. They don't want to touch it. It's a headache to them. But they'll push the box all day long or the edge all day long. So, but the deal that we find, and to Matt's point I think earlier, there's a cost to open tickets. There's a cost every time you have a very thin IT guy out there trying to, whether it's in the middle of the night or on the weekend or during the day, when they really want them doing something else. The device itself. So for every internet circuit, we monitor the circuit. So we're monitoring them through our own NOC. Okay, so we're monitoring the internet circuits and we're monitoring the VeloCloud devices. That's a network that we're seeing everything that's going on at all times. Right? They're monitoring their boxes. Some of these guys that are just pushing the edges, they're monitoring their boxes, but maybe not. And they may see a circuit down, but they'll send you a ticket. We want to provide the simplified management, which is exactly what this is. So don't worry about your network. And this seems to really push people over the top. And somebody will say, well, I just signed my AT&T contract for 3 years. I'm just done. And in most cases in the past, we would look at that and say, well, we'll your little tickler file and away you go, right?
Right.
When it comes to this, we'll manage those opt-in carriers, and there's additional margin in that, okay? Because in order to provide the solution, we have to take the LOA to manage that carrier.
So you'll take over that contract, in essence?
We'll take over the management of that, so they got to give us LOA, so we can open up a ticket with AT&T.
Right.
And we'll manage the outage.
So that customer then calls you to open a trouble ticket?
Right, and we're...
Well, hopefully they're not calling.
What I'm saying is if something goes wrong, they just call you.
Well, hopefully they're not calling. Hopefully we see that something went wrong.
Yeah.
The first step one is calling the customer unless it's 3 in the morning, right? But step one is calling them and saying, hey, did you unplug the circuit or is everything good? Step 2 is to call the ATT, the level 3 or whoever.
So we're getting the, so VeloCloud in this case, very smart box says, hey, circuit's down. So when, in the case where you're just pushing the box yourself, or the edge yourself, and that's all their box is getting, they're sending it to somebody. We're sending it to ourselves. We're saying, hey, we see this circuit's down. It's AT&T, we're managing that circuit. It's off-net to us, which we call off-net because we didn't sell it. And we're opening up the ticket. We're managing it.
So, and are you tracking those contracts then as they expire and trying to bring them over? Or?
That's where you guys come in. Let's say you have a customer that's under contract. We want to consolidate. We really want to put this all on one bill in the end. That's what we really like to do.
And we can put that in our...
Now, can you do this with regional carriers, like Sonic or, the smaller ones, or?
You mean consolidated?
Yeah.
Aggregate? Oh, yeah.
Take over those on an LOA, in essence?
Yeah, we can take any carrier on
Okay.
it for anybody, but I mean, I've lost track of the carriers. There's only one bill right now.
Okay.
There's one knock they're calling.
Now, does NITEL does this too, right? They have resell agreements with AT&T and all the guys, and just pay NITEL.
I think they're one of AT&T's biggest resellers in the country.
Yeah, supposedly they have some killer contracts and stuff, but, so what's the difference between you guys and NITEL in this case?
They picked a different SD-WAN
I don't think
They
they're
do-
Velocloud
They
shop,
do
are they?
Versa. They're
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yeah, but their model's a little bit,
Bless you.
a little bit different than yours. I don't think they're quite as much into, more toward managed services and getting the the IT guy out of break fix.
Well, yeah, I mean, I already know what I think why you're better. I mean, you guys are here, you're local, I can call you.
We're
I
nice
only know
guys.
Paul, that's all. Huh?
I said we're nice guys.
You have bad shoulders like me.
Yeah.
Nittel's got a couple of nice people too, but.
No, they don't.
They're they are more focused on the network than on
SD-WAN.
stack.
Okay.
Well, and you hit on something that I think is really important. Carriers they're pushing these boxes with the intent to sell their circuits. They're
Oh.
not pushing these boxes
As managed services.
to provide managed service, provides you insight into the LAN. You know how long it takes to productize anything within a carrier. It's a very, very long process. Even just developing a process within a
Right,
carrier.
right.
Right? So they're only taking on this just as needed because they want to sell their network that they have.
And
We're
protect,
taking advantage of the networks that are already out there to design the right solution with any of the carriers that make sense. But we're really looking forward into what's happening in the cloud and the SaaS and the managed service. That's
Right.
our focus, because we believe that's where the focus should be.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
They could sell this as a kind of a standalone SD-WAN solution
Yeah.
without having any network involved with it at all.
You can.
Or set it up to get
And
a
then migrate it
secondary
later or
connection
whatever.
or.
So we have a client we're working on now that's AirSpring. How would you compare what you're doing with AirSpring and why they are using a Velo box? And we're seeing some things that we don't like, but how would you guys compare yourselves?
Well, what is it you're seeing that you don't like?
Well, how do you compare? Okay, well, the implementation piece is so simple, but not so much. Lots of delays and
Yeah, I mean,
a little more time.
to be blunt, this part of our meeting with them went great, like with you guys. But then, once we put in an order, or even just to get to the point where it was signed, it was, and I'm not saying you guys are not great in your back end,
Understood.
but just getting information, getting a quote that was accurate, then getting customer to sign it. Once it was signed, still having to find out where our
You
order is.
have all kinds of problems getting that.
We have, and
moving.
I sometimes I think maybe I'm just too demanding, but she says I'm not, so.
No, I don't think so. I think they promise us certain things and they're not.
Yeah, their revenue prevention department's pretty big.
Right.
I have heard better things, just so you know, from Glenn about how Mosaic has done implementation in spite of some.
Well, that means a lot. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, it did not look good for the customer. It was like that we had too many calls, we had multiple conference calls with the customer, and every time we were starting over.
And I will say, with respect to differences, AirSpring, is there, I would say, kind of a hybrid between Nitel and Mosaic. They do network, they've historically done network, but they are moving into more managed services, XaaS, whatever you want to call it. They're, that UCAS offering, they are doing some other things in the cloud, but, I think they're still more focused on network.
So do you want to talk to that at all? Or?
And by the way, we're ending the meeting, we don't want to end on a negative, but that's kind of what we're dealing with, so we'd love to.
It's not their negative, but.
Right, well, I'm just saying, just
Is it
being
too late to change that one over?
just being negative probably in a meeting is not usually the best way to go, but that's what we're concerned about, and we'd love to have a partner that does what they do, only better.
Only does it.
Well, right, yeah.
Well, it's easy to sit here and just say, yeah, we don't have problems. I mean, we have our share of them. I think it's all about how you, when you have a problem, how you respond to it. I think as a company, we're big enough to matter, but small enough to care. And we came from an environment where service delivery excellence is, in our DNA. And so that hasn't changed. And it's a messy business behind the curtain, right? But if you've got people who are professional, who know the ins and outs, they know where the minefield is, then they can navigate, stormy waters and still give the customer a world-class experience.
If they're professional.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, I'm not going to just say, hey, we don't have any problems.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah, but I think on balance, we have much less than big carriers have. and we can do things much quicker. I think at the onset it was asked, are you, what part of your business is channel versus direct? And because our direction is the channel, we know that your number one concern is the satisfaction of your clients. We know that, hands down, right? Because if they're happy, they buy more from you.
Yes.
If they're not happy, they leave and go find another agent. So we're, the four of us as leaders of our domain, are supremely focused on making sure that we're thinking about those things, and putting things in place to ensure that we hopefully get better every day. So.
And I've heard, I don't know how many deals we've done with you guys, a few, and I've heard nothing but glowing positives on the people.
We're due for something really bad then.
Give the basket of it.
Well, here's the other thing though, back to, no one's perfect, but the more we can sit in rooms like this and communicate, the more effectively we get to know each other. I said that from the beginning. The easier it is to navigate and open the kimono and say, hey guys, here's what we're experiencing. You want to have those relationships like we're all one big team here.
Right.
And you can't have that with a huge broad range of people. So we're not hitting everybody across. We're really focusing on some very specific companies that we want to work with. And you guys really led the way for us. And we really want to. And we've been in the channel for a long time, but we really developed what we want to continue to develop is our relationship.
How do you compare price-wise? Do you have current pricing? I think you sent me quite a bit of information on pricing a ways back, but, any pricing changes?
I think there's going to be some changes, right, Brian?
Yeah, well, I was going to say the interesting thing about this whole cloud and SD-WAN approach to life is it really, you go back 10 years ago and you said, hey, you're going to get into the business, what are you going to be doing? Well, we're going to be reselling data, and that's almost like, well, so you're a reseller, you're an aggregator, you're this, you're that. It's always like, geez, you've got to defend that position over and over again, even though we continue to find opportunities to grow and provide solutions to companies that say, well, I have a big Verizon shop, I'm a big level 3 shop. We sell level 3 right out from underneath them and provide the same solution and the better service delivery. So we, even though, despite being that big reseller or aggregator, we continue to grow. Now, this is kind of a level playing field. We're not afraid of AT&T. We're not afraid of Verizon because there's that other component that comes in, which is everyone's got to resell that secondary circuit. Everybody. And the price of VeloCloud is somewhat of a commodity price, but where the margin comes in is on the managed services. So how much do you want out of this service? And so, you got silver, gold, platinum. Your choice. Do you want us to do it all, or do you want to do it yourself, or do you want some hybrid approach? Do you want us to manage the circuits? It's your choice. We always push for the platinum rate.
Right.
And that's where you can get the most margin.
So I have a hospital then that I'd like to talk to you about and get some numbers on pretty quick because I have a call with them on Friday.
Yeah.
I have other clients.
The client is.
She is not a client of the hospital. Now I know who it is. Now I know who the client is.
You know exactly who
So,
it is.
and she hates all her providers, but it would be nice. You can't do anything right, but it would be nice if she had one throat to choke.
Where's the hospital?
Orville,
okay.
yeah.
To make up
So
for
I'll
her
send you some
loss of
information and maybe you can
personality.
get me some, just some ballpark pricing so I can see if this is something I even want to throw at her.
Sure.
She's very difficult to deal with. But I love the total management idea. I would love to migrate her existing contracts to a single source,
Okay.
one bill, one.
She's not that bad.
Really?
I talked to her.
What are you, her mother?
No, I talked to her. Remember that conference that I invited her to?
Oh, no, she could be very nice.
Yeah, she was very nice to me.
No, and the other thing I think we bring to the table here that's important is cloud strategy. And I think that's really, you can see that we connect to AWS, we talk, Azure and Google. People want to understand what they can do in that environment. They know they need access. How do I get it, whether it's a direct connect? And there's cost advantage of going direct connect, but there's also benefits to staying in the cloud the way you are and the design. So,
client right now that has an enormous amount of weight in those both Azure and AWS. You would think it's a global client, which is one of our largest customers, they have a great strategy. They employ thousands of IT people. They haven't figured this out. They're like, wow. So we had, one of the guys on the call, we were talking through, and they're like, didn't think of that, didn't understand that they were, but these are smart guys. I mean, these are network architectures and security guys that you would think they have grasp on this stuff. They just don't.
Yeah, it's
So
pretty
it's more
complex.
consulting. Let's talk about what you're doing. All right, and that leads to obviously other opportunities. So we're more than happy to have those discussions because everyone leans on it to some degree, whether they're doing it now or in the future. And that's another benefit that I don't think the carriers really bring. Talking about what you really do with AWS or those types of applications, et cetera.
So what's your zero-touch deployment?
We're over time.
Yeah, we are.
You'll never know.
No, I'm not mad about it. I'm just saying, if you guys have appointments you gotta get to, I said 1:30, if you gotta go, you gotta go.
Let them ask their joint question.
I know Katie's just ready to go.
She wants to sell us UN.
Teaching it next week.
Show me money. Wow. What is that, zero-touch deployment?
So zero-touch deployment is a term that VeloCloud coined.
Trademark it.
They might have tried. But what it means is that so from a logistics perspective, we ship a device that's ready to plug in when it's received at the customer location. Any personnel that can plug in a power cord and can plug in an Ethernet cable and click on a link in an email can activate that box. Now, does it work that way 100% of the time? Because we're talking about complex IT environments. So the answer is no. But it can work, and often does work that way.
So how much information or how difficult is it to compile the information prior to the pre-configuring of it?
That's one of our steps in our orchestrated process. So we have a call with a customer. We help them create a profile. Profile is actually what this edge device does. It consists of business policy, site-to-site VPNs, firewall setting. So that's what this profile can, and we create that for them. So when that box logs into the internet, when they plug it in, the orchestrator pushes that profile out across the internet into that edge device, and it comes up automatically pre-configured.
Do you provide any IP addressing?
In our own IP blocks,
Yeah.
usually from an underlying provider.
From the
So you just need
carrier,
to
right?
know WAN, IP addresses, and LAN IP addresses, so that all this stuff is.
Yep. If we're not providing it as part of network services too.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
yeah.
If you need a specific size block, you just gotta let it.
So, I think you think about that big leaf.
Well, no, I have another scenario with Coast where, that this is something that AirSpring is doing, and they have an issue, is that it? So, not really. Where they have the block of IP addresses in the orchestrator at AirSpring. They've got the IP addresses in there.
Yeah, AirSpring's IP address. Block.
But, okay, so it is their block.
Mm-hmm.
I've forgotten kind of how that configuration is.
That's why they just change once from what they have to AirSpring.
That deal already sold.
We're implementing now.
So the others.
This Glenn's very familiar with this and has explained this to me a few times, so I'm sorry to hold you up on it. I'm a little bit blank on it.
If you guys have deal-specific questions, we are happy to get on a call with you. We'll bring our technical personnel in, have a customer call. We like talking about deals.
Get them in early.
We like,
Early enough. Do you guys have any, qualification tools, based on address, other than MasterStream?
You're talking about circuits now, right?
On the circuit side.
we have internal,
Yeah.
internally facing.
I don't even really use MasterStream much.
Well, how
So this
accurate
is how I use it, MasterStream. It's kind of just, it gives me a
pretty accurate.
pre-qualification and
Yeah.
who's available.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Problem is we only have like 7 or 8 carriers in MasterStream. I have 300 carriers that I buy from today.
Okay, so I can use like the analysis cable finder tool
Yeah.
and fiber tool and see who's, like, if it's a specific building, I can see who's on that building. And if it's AT&T, I know you guys have a relationship.
We
We
use,
have,
If it's Comcast or Time Warner, I can,
we may be able to give you access to a new tool that we
favorable terms that covers
just
some of the
established.
costs
We have
unbilled.
another one.
Depending on
There's
the
no,
revenue, not that broadband circuits create a
Indiana
lot of
fiber.
revenue, right? But
Indiana fiber?
depending on what the cost
and,
is,
and,
sometimes those can be completely offset.
He built a tool, pretty cool tool years ago for that.
Fiber locator, kind of
Fiber locator. But we just got another one that includes cable providers.
Right.
And
Telus just has the one, but they do it manually, I think.
that's for the cable,
Yeah.
the fiber,
this is both.
No.
This is supposed to
You've done that.
all the on-net fiber, infrastructure plus cable. So,
and Telaris will tell you what providers will.
But they only do their own providers.
yeah.
They don't do really everybody. They don't do AT&T.
Is there someone other than yourself that we can reach out to?
I know
Yeah.
something.
Any of us. Any one of us.
Well, I mean, what I'd like to do is get away from, calling you up on $400 deals and take it.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
Okay.
You were going to meet with Annie, I think, for lunch, right?
Tomorrow, yeah.
Tomorrow, yeah. Are you guys still doing that?
As far as I know.
Okay. Yeah, she could be
Okay.
that
Is she like an
source
inside
as well.
person?
She's,
She's the one you-
she was supposed to be here today. She's our kind of client partner liaison person. And just great human being, right? Just one of those really nice people. So her objective is to make sure that our clients and our partners are happy. That's really her number one objective. So that's why she reached out to see if she could set up a meeting and probably do an introduction. But she's also helps us with some projects, so from that perspective, yeah.
Okay, so if I send you something, you'll just distribute it to...
Yeah, I mean, we'll might work on it together. If it's a deal like that, Matt and I, or Pete and I, Brian, it may even be involved.
Yeah, Eric's gonna send you a deal similar to that one.
Yeah.
Like, price or something.
We just so you guys know, we're really big on team selling. And a lot of times it's over the web, but if we can get in front of somebody because they're local, I think it adds a lot of value. So that's how we got Placer Title, and a few other deals that we've done. So
I like you guys.
Yeah.
It's nice for
We like meeting people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I like to bring you guys out.
I like signed orders.
So that we're gonna.
I like the installed orders.
Build, that's a build.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is one other quick thing I just want to mention while we're here. So, and it's not something, this is not a core product for us, but I think hearing about it. So a lot of times people are building, especially if you think about your local valley or some sort of retail organization, they're building a network to point-to-point sales transactions. So, we have a partnership with a company called Freedom Pay, a customer of ours. We actually have specifically focused on the telecom segment and the master agents in this segment, to work with them. They have a payment platform, processing platform, okay?
For retail, you talking
Yeah.
about?
So, point of sale.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you go to the Las Vegas Strip, it almost might be 100, it was 96% of all payments processed there. Every platform you go put your credit card into there runs over prepaid. It's massive, and they're growing like.
And another place you may see them is the airport.
So it's just purely payment process, it's not inventory control and all that?
It's not the actual block that you're putting your card into, but it's the platform in the back that decides, which bank to send the
Oh,
transaction
okay.
to, et cetera.
Yeah, the commerce platform.
Okay.
Yeah, and so just to, you were introduced, the opportunity, we partner a lot with the locations that they're going to, et cetera, et cetera. But what they do is they provide a much more secure way of addressing all the issues around regulatory issues around point of sale. And plus, we brought it in on their first opportunity with a 6,500 location retail deal. And they compensate per transaction. So minimum transactions per year is 10 million. The one we're in is in the millions. And it's really looking good right out of the gate.
Wait,
The amount,
this is yours?
It's
an agent. 6,500?
with that annually is astronomical. But my point is, if you get into a situation where point of sale and multi-location transactions becomes an opportunity for you, point of sale, we can address it with you guys.
Not to go down my hair, 'cause that's
Well, depends on the supercar.
Do they do Bitcoin too? Or?
We got some better
So
ones.
their PCI compliance.
That's where you wanna go, PCI compliance, they have,
Oh,
there's literally
got that one, huh?
100.
It's not the one that they created.
345
It's a giant
compliance,
question. Yeah.
On PCI, yeah.
Yeah, and they address
Probably need to
90%.
look at it.
So literally,
They reduce it to 30
compliance.
questions.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, so it's not just all the way
So-
down, it's, they're actually a middleware, is what they do, and also good analytics. So if your clients want to know any analytics, it's a hamburger and onions, they can tell you that. And they can start to sell you and you get free french fries one day because you never buy french fries. So they manipulate analytics as well as address PCI compliance.
So I don't know, did you mention, this is an agent referral and the revenue opportunity in this one deal is, did you mention it? Just mention it.
It was a lot.
If you want them to get excited about it, you gotta,
Well, it's over $1 million a year.
in commission.
Is one, and just the compensation on it is over $1 million.
Katie.
That's right. I think we need a partner.
You don't have to sell anything.
You don't have to sell anything, all you have to do is identify.
That's my model.
The minimum requirement is 10 million transactions a year. You can do the math depending on the client. They're typically, high volume transactions, somewhere they're doing card swipes quite a bit.
Yeah, I also reached out to Freedom Pay, right, this morning on the way here. I wanted to get some sample target companies that we could share with you guys. Say, hey, these companies are on their target list. So I'm waiting to hear back on that. We have a bunch of data points on this stuff, though. We just haven't released it to anybody yet.
We'll hunt them.
But it's, I mean, it could be huge.
You might want to just release it to one agent at a time.
Well, we have
You can drive it.
No, I meant one agency.
Well, we have flicks and everything. We can send them out to you
Yes,
guys.
please.
Everything's already done. All you have to do for with your client, there's, first deal we brought to the table, there's a couple value adds there, and they're like, yes, let's, NDA. And we have a bunch of them. Once you start thinking about people you know, next thing you know, it's like, oh, these guys own a bunch of delis or a bunch of McDonald's or whatever wherever they're doing heavy transactions. It's pretty incredible. We just hit a big one right out of the gate.
Free pay. Freedom pay.
So here I was going to mention, when you're at the airport and you go and you buy your newspaper and your water and candy or whatever in those stores, that's all run by a company called HMS Host.
Yeah.
Right? So HMS Host is one of their biggest customers as well. So every time you go to an airport, in Vegas or wherever, San Jose, San Francisco, you're going to see Freedom Pay
right on that little card swipe. Thank you for putting it.
It's not the hardware manufacturer, they're the middleware.
Yeah.
So the industry's multi-billion or trillion transactions, they represent in 17 months 5% of that industry. And they're on fire.
Are they privately held or?
Yeah.
I think my daughter's done that a lot.
They're out of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
He's about 1%
of that 5%.
Telecom vertical. They were in a totally different vertical, and when we started working with them, they weren't aware of this vertical, so we looked at yours the clients we're going to go after. And so you guys are on that list.
That's great.
As Eric said, you're the first ones that we've talked to about it.
Well, talk no further. Thank you very much, you guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you, anybody online still.
And your dog.
You got it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, who's that, Jim? Neil.
That's Neil.
You get a trip to Hawaii, Neil.
Funny looking, or? Guys.
Glad to hear it.
Okay, take care.
You want it, Jim? Oh, if